Oh, good.
Our first one. How many posters? We have two. We have two. Yeah. Yeah.
You go first.
You like to see?
No, you want to go over
I
there?
have to get close to the poster.
Yeah, there's nobody online, but if there's someone online,
Oh, do we have to do this?
I know, but there's nobody online.
We have a captive audience.
That's it.
There's that advantage.
Yeah, before our presentation, please come to the podium.
Oh.
Thank you. Would you like to present or do you?
Who made it? So, which topic do you?
I think we should start with the excellent extent.
We just can start with something a bit more overarching.
Okay. EX is actually a movement at our university. And it's an institutional movement named that will try our best to reach out to all faculty members on campus. Because our university is comprehensive research university. So we have faculty that from medical arts, law, medicine, what else, astronomy, all the rest of it. And I think most of the funding is that we started this as a movement through setting up of COPs, very close. That framework, the COP framework, domain, should be common that both parties aspire to achieving, and then together we set up the community, and the practice is actually the outcomes that we wanted to improve on, and then translate it into our setting, the common the domain that we engaging students and enhancing students their disciplinary literacy. This is something very important. And for us, our project team, we hope that both students, particularly, and the faculty members who will have greater ownership in English language education. Because very often people will think, okay, here to you people, you're the experts, over to you, and you're responsible for them. But I think this is not the right concept. this content professors, should bear, some responsibility, and I hope that this ownership, can be enhanced. So that is in our key, one of our key roles. And because, that it concerns, teaching, learning, and assessment. So we just hope that through our interaction with them, we can somehow influence and enhance their assessment practices. And when we talk about assessment practices, we can translate it all zeroing in, to some kind of assessment tasks, or just to take one year project as an example. So how they're going to assess them, how will they guide them, how they're going to provide feedback, to them in the process, can be modified. And I think it has to be modified, through our collaboration. And take one example, Stevens, the faculty that is responsible for the engineering, and we try to provide timely interventions for the students' learning as to how they can handle your project, and also writing, so we can come in different forms. Different intervention models, we can have workshops. We actually developed a micro modules for e-learning platforms for students, because these are engineering students, right? We start all with some early adopters, that's early 16. And I think there's always wanting to start small. So we learn, what is possible, what is not possible. So in other words, we need to know the culture and the house, of so maybe is one of them. And then smart, we have achievement. We're actually very fortunate and very proud to say that we have already established more than 30 leverage projects and involving around 60 teachers, professors, and all the faculties. So for these collaborative projects, some stay, some diminish. I think there are many challenges, such as students' needs will change, and sometimes it's the turnover of the faculty members. But then we will manage to support around 10,000 students to date since 2016. Because the whole project has been very well received, so we're able to return funding by the university. And it's that sustainability is always an issue, and then money, of course, and I guess you just have to prove yourself and to show people that you have substantial outcomes, and then I think by word of mouth, and then by our collaborators, feedback, and students, positive feedback, they recognize as something worthwhile, so we can have this, that sustains. But of course, our challenges, is that sometimes our own staff might have turnover, the rate might be high, and but so lots of good. This year we have also received the University Education Award. Received. We don't have a picture. And if you have a look at some of these, and this will actually help the students with the poster presentation. We will try to be in empathy, and then we actually train TAs, so that the TAs know how to support their own students. And this is the mobile app that that team. Now, for some reasons, our students, didn't find that useful. Yeah, it's not. They're learning pattern. So we actually write on this and develop the content and everything into a learning platform, an e-learning platform. Yeah, hopefully, this will give students better interface, Yeah.
So the TAs, are they yours or are they, the TAs that you?
The TAs is
Are
the
they your
content,
TAs?
not
or
our
are they
TAs, the TAs from the content. I think this is important because the part of our sustainability, approach. How much?
How long is
How
that?
long? The training, only a couple of sessions, yeah. Would you like to say?
Yeah, we provide trainings on the next week, we want to this, we look at it throughout the year.
Oh.
So they provide feedback to students.
And they can contact you.
Yes, we have like operation.
The content professors, are involved in it as well, because, they have to look at, the range of the grades and the marks, yeah. I still remember, when Jackie, was in charge, that was over Christmas time, he gave us a break, when he looked at the mark, he said, there's a concern here, Joe, so I said, okay, don't worry, we'll get together and sort it out. And I think it's good that, we have the content professors in, because, when the students know that, our content professors care, then they care. And I guess, I'm not sure about your setting, but, in Hong Kong and in most, Asian settings, whereby language, English is only the second language, or the foreign language. There's a mystical kind of dialogue between language learning and content learning. Somehow they just feel that the two will never meet. So I'm doing it because we do, English courses, but we want, that myth to be dispelled. I guess, this is, one of the inventions, this is one of the events. Makes sense to you?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Your assessment, you were talking about your assessment model, and I'm wondering if is it linked to the one that Julia was talking about yesterday in her presentation about how you were assessing success with student writing growth over the course of the program? Like, I'm just wondering how you're engaging that. Can you talk a little more about that?
Yeah, it depends on the collaboration because sometimes, we will do something like pre and post. Yeah, for example, before our intervention, we will take a look at students' performance.
Okay.
Yeah, and then after receiving our intervention, we will take a look at the output of work of
Okay.
students.
Got it.
Yeah, and see whether they have really learned something and applied something that they have learned from our interventions to their subsequent writing.
Okay.
Yeah, or even oral presentation. Yeah, and we sometimes have feedback sessions.
Mhm.
So after taking a look at maybe their first draft,
Yeah.
so we will provide feedback, and then they will submit maybe another assignment to the teacher of a similar nature. Yeah, so it's something like a continuation, and we would like to see their progression along with it.
And I think it's also important for us to look at the final product to see, the uptake of learning.
Right.
And that is an impact to indicate later for us. And we also have another project which is extended to PhD. I'd like some of my members to introduce this.
Okay, so you can see this is a university-wide platform. Yeah, because we would like to provide more individualized English language support to students. Yeah, but we understand that sometimes students will find it a little bit scary to seek help from their teachers all the time. And so that's why we have this peer tutoring scheme. First of all, we would like to recruit students, including undergraduate students and postgraduate students who are, first of all, good at English. Yeah, and at the same time, they are very eager to help their schoolmates. I think this is very important. Yeah, but in many cases, these students, their English mastery is already very good. Yeah, but they may not have the experience yet in tutoring. Yeah, something related to English. So that's why we need to provide a lot of training to the students. Yeah, who are very interested in helping their schoolmates. Yeah, for example, something to do with pedagogy. Yeah, how to provide feedback. Yeah, because
But what do they tutor? Because from there we can faculty, TAs or faculty.
Yeah.
There are peer tutors for ELT or peer tutors for what?
For different kinds of assignments, including assignments from maybe our courses, but at the same time, so they always need help, to prepare for the assignments that they need to complete for their content teachers.
But largely right.
Mostly writing, but also maybe oral presentations, or public exam preparation. Some of them may take IELTS before they graduate, and they may need some corresponding support as well.
An interview practice.
Interview practice, yeah, or sometimes they just want somebody to talk with them in English. Yeah, so yeah, maybe to improve their fluency, to improve their pronunciation, something like that.
When you're academic writing is always tough, but you know, it's.
Yeah, so after providing the training, they will be more empowered to go to the field to offer their service. Yeah, but we will also try to monitor the performance of the peer tutors. Yeah, so at the end of each session, the peer tutees will complete a survey. Yeah, something like an evaluation of the tutor's performance, but most of the time the peer tutors receive very high score. Yeah, so that means the tutees are so appreciative of the service that they receive from the peer tutors.
Do you use an electronic system for that, or do you use paper survey?
Yeah, I'm sure Carmen can give us more.
Yeah, from
Sorry.
the registration of the tutoring session to the completion of the survey, we use an online platform.
Use that one.
Yeah, so so for the tutoring sessions, actually the tutees will get to choose which tutor to work with and learn from. Yeah, so they can just book a session online and they will be asked to specify their request. But they get to decide the focus of each session and what help they like to get from our people.
And how much profiling is there for the tutors?
What do you mean?
So how much information is there about the tutors when they get to choose a tutor?
So we have this website where we have all the self-introduction videos from each tutor, and they will introduce their background and the areas of support. For example, some of them are good with exam preparation or academic writing or social English. These will be the information they will be able to get from the website.
Thank you.
Right, I derailed.
It's okay, it's okay. And then we are doing more systematic monitoring of the performance of the peer tutors. Yeah, for example, we will take a look at the, for example, online feedback provided by them, because quite a lot of our students, they would like to simply submit their work to the peer tutors.
Of course.
Yeah, and then in about 48 hours, they will receive the online feedback, yeah, from the tutors. Yeah, and we would like to see whether they have a tendency to edit the tutees' performance. This is something that we do not want to see. Yeah, so if that is the case, yeah, we will have a debriefing with them. We'll have a sharing session at the end of the semester. Yeah, so to let the tutors know what they have done well and then what's the areas that they
Did
can
you provide feedback after the session?
We do. When we say feedback, you know, it's formative feedback.
No, I get that, but I mean, tutors spend time after the session writing up feedback for the tutee.
Yes, because sometimes they will not be able to see the tutees. Yeah, so they will just communicate with each other online. Yeah, so in that case, the peer tutors will provide online feedback. For example, make use of the comment boxes, yeah, in Microsoft Word, yeah, or they will use maybe track changes. Yeah.
This way in 3 months, would you like to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have the face-to-face sessions, and so we have a designated place for the tutors and tutees to go to, yeah, if they really want to meet face-to-face. Yeah, and then maybe for the sake of convenience, yeah, so they may find it easier to communicate with each other on Zoom, so it is also okay for us to communicate with each other via Zoom. Yeah, and just like what I mentioned earlier on, yeah, so sometimes they don't even have a chance to see each other. Yeah, so they would just communicate with each other online. Yeah, so in that case, they would provide.
Asynchronous.
Mm.
All right, that I didn't get. Sorry.
Yeah, so hopefully, along the way, yeah, with our monitoring, with our training, yeah, the peer tutors will provide very high quality service. Yeah, it is good to know that we have pretty good mix of undergraduate students and postgraduate students. Yeah, and quite a lot of the tutees, yeah, seek multiple occasions of support from the tutors. Yeah, it implies that, yeah, the peer tutors have done a very good job in general. Otherwise, they would not come back.
Is it difficult to recruit tutors?
Not that difficult. Yeah, so we also have international students joining this scheme. Yeah, and they are actually very eager to support their schoolmates.
Yeah, but when we first started, you know, we have to be quite strategic. Because, you know, I was the one to approach the dean. So, well, look at this, can you please recommend, you know, that some of your top students that you think you would be able to help? So we also contacted, the director of the OSA, the Office of Students Affairs. And, you know, we also contacted the director, you know, from the Office of International Links, you know, to recruit international students. All of these will have to be done in a very timely manner. So we plan everything over the summer, and all the invitations will be sent, you know, over the summer. So, yeah. And as this becomes, quite successful, then, it becomes more automatic. And even companies come, to change some content, of the invitation that we send it out. And it's, oh, sure, if they understand that it's something like this. But it's always the first part, the first step, that is more challenging, and we're looking things through a little bit more carefully. I realized that you actually done some future trends in the center. I thought you could have that.
Similar way, initially, in a similar way, finding, talking to various program managers, that we collaborate with, putting them in this campaign, potentially eager potential tutors. We then took that group of 20 or so students onto a course for a full term and open them up.
Well, but yours is actually in course based, right? Futures.
No, that was just the training that I mentioned. But no, it's a fairly regular with very similar types of. I'm not aware of, because I'm not running it any longer, so I'm not really inside it. I don't think we have gone to asynchronous tutoring.
I
I don't think where. But there's been quite a bit of online.
And that part, I think we have to be very careful. And then I think computers find that mode of service the most challenging because you don't even see them. If you don't even know them, you cannot get feedback from them.
And the actual feedback process is much more demanding.
Yes.
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 So that's well done. You should manage that.
And we want to be sure that they're.
And that's the slippery slope with the asynchronous.
Yeah.
It can be harder to do that question for students. It's organic piece that you might do in a face-to-face or online.
Be tempting to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I always worry about our team doing the asynchronous piece without a lot of training because it's easy to have folks want to just, because it's faster to just go through. Versus, so like.
Sometimes we encourage them to ask questions,
Right.
sometimes we encourage them to recommend resources, rather than doing a lot of correction.
Right.
For the two teams.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's important.
Are they paid? Do they get credit? And then-
Yes, but not a very handsome amount. Yeah, I don't think they are coming for the money.
No.
So I.
But there is some
Yeah.
recognition.
Other than.
We're trying to pay them, but they're too lazy to tell us the number of hours, and we have to chase after them to come.
Would you have that in book?
Yeah.
Because we don't tell, we tell dependent students that it's a voluntary service. So most of them, when they apply for a scholarship, they don't know if they will receive anything.
Oh.
So
They
it's not
don't
that
expect
salary,
money.
but it's a very small token of appreciation.
For coupon and things like that. And we really have to chase after them. Please come and tell us.
Yeah. It's for-
So the another session. Yes.
All right, you can take a picture of it.
I'll sit next to you over lunch.
You got it.
I'll find you over lunch.
But I thank you very much.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
I'll see you soon.
Do it.
I hope that-
You're good. Great. I have a whole thing.
It's
So how long?
poster.
Oh, it is my poster. Yeah.
We can
You want me to do my? You want me to do that?
Okay, cool.
So I work at a broad access institution, an urban institution in. And so when I say broad access, average GPA of our undergraduate population is 2.7 out of school. So we are the option for state college for a vast majority of our students, although they're not a monolith. Looking at kind of an 86% African American, Latinx identifying student population and international, growing international population. And we're highly Pell eligible. So that's like the demographic that we're working with. And there was a call from the president to respond to a growing sense that writing proficiency is a huge challenge across the university, both in our undergraduate college, which is the demographic I'm mentioning, and in our professional. And so initially the task was a writing center. We have a learning support team already that does tutoring, but she wanted a writing center. And so I was tasked with that. So about a year ago, I started kind of doing I felt like that might not be what the institution needed from my experience having worked there. And so I went on I gathered a stakeholder group across the institution. I went on a listening tour, I would say, around the institution, listening to students about what they felt their struggles and needs were. Faculty, what are you seeing in your classes, library, career development, all the people. Did a needs assessment, survey needs assessment, and came up with a model that was a little bit different. Because my feeling was that there were two things that really needed to happen. One was an institutional mindset shift around what it means to help students develop proficiency as writers. That was still coming back to very deficit-oriented phrases like our student can't write, right? And seeing it at a very surface level. And so I felt like there needed to be a mindset shift for what it means to support students to develop writing, but also what it means to be faculty who teach writing in our discipline, and to help all of our faculty claim themselves as experts in their field with the writing of their field. And that felt like what needed to happen in an embedded or sustained way than just removing students and sending them to this other place. Although I think that was part of what needed to happen, was one piece in a bigger puzzle. I also found that there was tons of writing work that was happening across our huge university, and it was all happening in silence. There were little bubbles floating around the institution of folks who were doing language work, who were doing work with our L2s and our ELL students, and they're all doing it distinctly and separately with different brain streams and different, right? So my objective was, how can we harness all of those siloed bubbles and get a wheel that's more productive? And how can we start to shift those mindsets? And that's tricky. Because embedded in that is also how faculty see students. There's also like a very issues of equity that are embedded in that, in terms of this idea of our students not being ready for college versus what the faculty are doing to be student ready for students. So there needed to be this shift. So I came up with this model that I pitched to the president and said, okay, I'll do this. But this is going to be one piece, and there's going to be these other pieces as well. So these were the 5 work streams I initially set up, bound by kind of a vision and philosophy that centered linguistic equity, this idea of what it means to develop writing as a skill, that this is a learned skill that students can develop over time. When you have a broad access school where students are coming in at all different language and writing proficiency levels, you have to know that folks are going to develop at different points along the way. So this is what I focused on in my first year, which is thinking about the writing intensive. We designated 8 writing intensive courses in our first year, and we built out the curriculum of all of those courses. We will have 6 more next year. So that means that students will be required to take students will be required to take 2 writing intensive courses during their gen ed sequence in addition to English. And they'll take 2 writing intensive courses in their discipline. So that it really increases the muscle memory of writing practice. And we developed criteria for what constitutes a writing intensive course using that stakeholder group and gather. Like, what are the criteria we can all have in classes that go across? So they're not necessarily more writing. It's really thinking about what does it mean to do better writing, to do kind of writing to learn, writing practice, right? All of those different strategies that we know are so effective. So that's one piece of the work. And by creating those courses, I also worked with our learning support team to create a much more robust peer tutoring program. And so that's something else that we built out, because then we embedded peer tutors in all of our writing by embedded them, I mean we put them into like our D2L. We use D2L for LMS with our learning management system. And so we embedded them in the course shells of all of our writing intensive courses. So that students had writing access to a person that knew their curriculum and knew the assignments and knew the milestones. Also in these writing intensive courses, we have a differentiation model for our developing language fluency students. So when students are in the class who are still developing their language, the teacher has access to a model of how would I differentiate for the class, and then how do I differentiate for individual students and support their language development in the class. In addition to having access to ELL tutors and things like that. So outside, how am I really thinking about, so I'm thinking about it in terms of what are the language tasks that each of these writing assignments are asking students to do. Like if you're asking students to compare and contrast, or to summarize, or to analyze, then how are we supporting students with those language fluency to do those different tasks? So we created a model to do that. And we created instructional coaching for all of our faculty who are teaching those writing intensive courses. Because when I started here, I was doing full college professional development sessions on mindset shifts, on responding to student writing, and I felt like they were useful, but they were general. And I didn't feel like we were moving the needle at all. But instructional coaching was the ticket, because we were coaching the teams that were actually teaching the course. So it was kind of that just-in-time coaching, where you're saying, here's the 3 milestones you're teaching this term. Let's collaborate and work together. Like, what are some ways that you can integrate interesting and meaningful writing assignments out of what's already in the curriculum in the shell? So that ended up being the way that I think moving forward, I'm really looking at for a lot of work moving forward. It's using those writing intensive courses to ultimately develop a much more robust writing curriculum model from that. Because now we have courses in all of our disciplines that are designated already.
So,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I understand writing is actually designed by the correct program. And
Are they, yeah, no, so they are designed in
within each discipline.
collaboration. So we came up with the guidelines with stakeholders from all different places. And then as the writing intensive course, as the writing initiative person, when courses were getting revised to be designated writing intensive, I would meet with the subject matter expert and we talk about how they're going to meet the guidelines. But I would let the discipline people drive what their outcomes need to be, and then
It's actually listed under each discipline.
yes, but they all have to meet the guidelines or the criteria. So think like writing for multiple genres and audiences. Multi-draft writing assignments were huge one, because a lot of those disciplines don't do multi-draft assignments, right? Where you have or scaffolded assignments where they're, but we integrated a lot of those models into the discipline courses. So I worked with the faculty to do that. Yeah, and then this is something I'm really interested in, like equitable student resources that can be accessed online. I really pinned this for the future because I felt like after we kind of moved through this year of learning, as I said, I really feel like this is a leverage place to move forward, because the way that I've gotten investment from all of these faculty of different disciplines, and it's a way to have a lot of these writing practices embedded in the required courses that students are taking. I did help the learning support team expand, as I said, like build the capacity of their peer tutoring program, but also implement a much more robust training, observation and assessment model for the tutors. And so we're applying for CRLA accreditation, which is tutoring. So their tutors also need kind of a tutoring credential if I was an accredited tutor. So that's another piece of the work, and it also is a way to ensure that moving forward, we have a system in place where we don't have, oh, one term we were understaffed, so the tutors only had an hour of training, but instead we have professional people we don't have like a robust culture of speakers and events for different ways that students are exposed to different kinds of literacy. And so really thinking about the way we model, the way reading and writing shows up in all different ways as an institution was something that I also have been thinking about. So we started a creative writing learning community for students, because in the surveys that I did initially, students talked about creative writing as the way that they expressed themselves in writing. So I felt like that could be an entry point into other kinds of language development. We also piloted a 1-book program where all of the incoming students read the same book, and that's now been embedded in our college seminar course that students will take as freshmen. So this summer, I'll be working on a curriculum for that. So that is the gist. So
It's a lot.
in a year, it's a lot. Yeah.
There is a lot.
I mean, I think what's been really helpful is like being at this conference and going to these different sessions and thinking about how you take kind of like a skeletal version of this and you turn it into something more robust.
Yeah.
And more meaningful. And I think
You know,
yeah.
so all these in the writing intensive courses that are compulsory and the rights.
Yes, well, they are, yes, so the way our program, our pathway works is that students have to take certain courses students don't have a ton of choice in their courses, so it's ready-made for this, because they have to take courses, we made sure that there was one that was designated as writing intensive, yes. They have to take
Am I right to assume also that, you know, that rating courses in our both for the first language speakers and second language speakers?
if they're all in English.
And how about, you know, the general language proficiency, you know, in terms of IELTS?
So all of our students qualify. I would say we see more of, I think we have very few students who actually qualify as true ELLs. I think that we see a lot more L2s and like folks who, while their first language at home was different, they went to school in English. And so you see kind of some proficiency with fluency challenges there with speaking or writing. But most of them have gone to school in English, not all across the board though. And that's an area that we're really working on, is thinking about language development, offering classes. Yeah.
This for us, you know, that we have. What level?
Our international students have to pass a certain level. I can't remember what it is. Yeah, there is a cut, but I think we're pretty loose because there are some students that I had in my classes that are definitely struggling and I think we're increasingly what we did is we really sought to recruit international students before we had, I think, a sustainable model for making sure we were supporting international students, as many students do. And I really think we put the cart before the horse in terms of ensuring that our faculty was really ready to have a student who's developing their fluency, who has learning norms outside of the American school system, all of those things will really kind of now backtrack.
I guess it's important to get a profile, comprehensive profile of the students. I think that is,
Yes.
and we may have to, this for me, I try to
Yeah.
figure it out. And this will that have an impact on how to implement,
Yes.
you know, a kind of program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and diversity is an issue for facing non-university, I think, for non-universities, so,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what's been good is that I actually, even though my role is administrative, I've picked up a bunch of classes this year to try to see what's going on around, to try to be close to the work and to see student writing, and that's helped a lot because it's such hugely, they gave me very largely, heavily international sections. And that was really helpful to start to talk to students from Kyrgyzstan and India and China and to understand like where they were coming from and why they were there, which I think you really have to start with is like, what are you hoping to get out of this experience?
and the need,
So, yeah. So,
it's very, very challenging.
whew,
When we talk about diversity on our campus, can be compared to your diversity.
What does that look like for you? When you talk
I'm
about-
just thinking about, for us, 80% of our students are local.
Right.
So at least 10%.
Okay.
And then I think we have to feel it. You know, they came in with a near perfect score, basically, based on, you know, their results.
Right. Sure. And all your classes are English, right?
Mostly. It's not university, but
Right. Right.
and then there's a very 10% international students. When you talk about international students will be the second language learner, blah, blah, blah. For our international students will be the first language.
Oh, English from Europe and US
Yeah.
or, okay,
French.
range.
Interesting, yeah.
I would love to
So-
come to Hong Kong and like
Please.
work for a while. Oh,
Yes.
it's wonderful. I was like listening yesterday.
We'll
I'd
be
like to go.
we'll be pushing you. Whole family.
You know, me and my 2 kids and my husband. Love to get rid of the dogs for a while.
Like the dog can be a teacher, you know.
We'll go.
Yeah,
No, but anyways, it's been really exciting to hear what you all want to do.
you know, for me, I'm very fortunate, this can be director of the unit.
Okay.
And also, lot of people are project coordinator.
Okay.
I think project coordinator is a very important.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that we, apart from all these, you know, we have our normal tasks to come down. This is, you know, separate and apart and
Right.
help, you know, from visions.
Do you have a teaching load too? Or are you teaching?
Yeah.
How many courses do you teach?
I think most colleagues will be able to.
And for writing, you're teaching writing?
Not all writing courses, but there is a lot. Holistic.
Okay.
So, yeah. It's really a lot. And it's a separate apart. And when we collaborate, our collaborators, and they have their own agenda. So, vacation back and setting up meetings,
Yeah.
review meetings,
For your disciplinary folks, are they receptive to this? Like, are they-
Paul? No, this one, you know, when we first started, we went somewhere.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, sometimes, you know, working out through conferences, to reaching out to them personally, then, you know, that we have this one. This one right now, we have.
Really exciting.
This is across the whole university, and we started off, you know, step to be. Institutional. Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
This is really exciting.
So our setting is very different because, if I may say, that, you know, our relation for our students, we're adopting a 3-pronged approach. And the first prong is our formal curriculum, whereby we conduct, you know, classes to them. And one kind of class is very similar to your writing and courses, we call them ASP, English courses. So these are compulsory courses for students who will participate. For example, it's a course for students. And we work closely with the content versus determine the content. But you know, we are primarily the boss. We design everything.
You design everything.
Yeah,
Of
we-
course.
yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, we will try to obtain feedback, you know, from the content
Right.
versus as to relevance and what else? Relevance, and, whether it's relevant to the students' needs or not, something that's timely or not.
And are these like primarily writing, reading, speaking courses?
So, yeah, it's not easy. I mean, when it's not what is very wrong, the first one. Is very wrong. But even with the curriculum, with the EAP, ESP, and individual context, and what's really required mostly for graduation. And then the second, would be the basic, is that this is operating at a program level. So we actually work with the program, or even teacher, to the course. So some teachers will want us to help the students with the writing, or with their exam task. Okay, and then the third from would be our peer tutoring. So we would have this, that, and that. Yeah. So I think our students are very fortunate to so many
Lots of tiers of support.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the way you're thinking about that too. That makes sense. Great. How long are you in the States for? Here.
We're leaving tomorrow.
Oh,
Me, I'm leaving. Pretty.
are you traveling? Oh, fun. Really? To Chicago. Oh, that's
Here, the first time is years ago.
oh, really? Yes. Oh, yeah, we have snow. We didn't have much this winter.
So, sorry. We're
Is
nice.
it really?
We're nice. We're eating, get them a drink.
But it's not, it doesn't get that cold.
No. The coldest would be 90 degrees.
Yeah, no, I got that. Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Well, maybe
That's
you
why I
could come
went.
to Chicago for a conference or a thing. Find an excuse to go.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, you just kind of
Live with it.
and try to, do like a support organization. But I think you'd be fine as like, okay.
Do you have any tags?
I tell you, I don't. Because I would love to, yeah.
Name tag on.
Oh, good, and then I can look you up, that sounds great, all right. Yes, thank you. Oh, yeah, we'll do.
Thank you. There you go. We do have a name tag and you can see. You have an email?
Yes. And on the conference thing is my email. Oh, you not yet? Yeah, you can see it. No, I should just write down my, here, my work email and my.
Okay,
Thank you. Awesome, perfect.
yeah, you can actually.
Check my right side.
I'll do that.
I'm not.
I have pen.
Oh, you got it, all right, sorry. I didn't curious about.
So I will do that.
I will keep in touch because I am, I'm on the Fulbright roster right now. And I'm hoping to do Fulbright in the next year. And one of my dream locations. to come out your way.
You can write on here. But you won't be able to bring your whole family, right?
No. It's a, It's a Fulbright specialist position.
Okay, NKOH.
Each out. At. That's the at. You should tell that's the at, fine, okay.
And now we're up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Website.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I will, no, that's great, thank you. Yeah. Very cool. See, project manager is doing her thing brilliantly. Great, no, thank you so much. And how do you say your first name?
Joe's?
Oh, Joe's.
No, Jose. Joe's.
Well, that was when I first saw it up there, I was like, oh, they, and then that's interesting, that's not what I would have missed. Okay, Joe's,
Yes, yeah.
got it. Thanks. Well, thank you. Have a great trip.
Here.
Great.
And then we'll do some other sessions, right?
Yeah.
Bye.
Another 30 minutes to lunch.
Oh. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks. Mua tiền mà. Tôi thấy mua lo mai.